We've gathered quite an illustrious panel here with the support of a number of partners, the Office of the African Union Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security, Madam Diop, as well as the Executive Director of UN Women, Dr. Punjile Mlambo-Nguga, and all of us are here to reflect on the 20 years that have now passed in the lifetime of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, and in particular to hear about the implementation of the agenda in tangible terms. I'm really pleased that we have the Executive Director of UN Women present here with us, because this is our former Deputy President of South Africa, Dr. Punjile Mlambo-Nguga, a fellow South African woman now at the forefront of championing women's rights right here at the United Nations. At the core of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda is the almost obvious yet critically important recognition that where conflict affects human beings, it is absolutely fundamental that resolving it includes the involvement of women in all capacities. Our advocacy of the role of women in this respect is not just based on balancing the scales. It is also in recognition of the unique perspective and skills that women can offer in such situations. The critical importance of the role of women in such matters is also born out of the disproportionate burden that women and girls endure in many conflict situations, including through the horrors of sexual and gender-based violence. Sexual violence remains among the most despicable so-called instruments of war employed against women. This is clearly a flagrant violation of international human rights and humanitarian law, and it has devastating consequences for victims and communities. It is an evil that our government, together with our partners here and elsewhere, intends to spare no effort in ending. Our united efforts gathered here in keeping alive the Women, Peace and Security Agenda are making inroads in addressing issues such as the horrific sexual and gender-based violence in conflict situations, and making inroads more broadly in ensuring the involvement of women in all aspects, in conflict prevention, in mediation, and in peaceful resolution. South Africa has consistently championed the agenda of women, peace and security throughout all of our involvement in international peace and security matters, including in our role on the Security Council in previous terms in which we've served as a non-permanent member and in our current term. We will continue to call for the full implementation of all relevant Security Council resolutions, for the inclusion of greater numbers of female peacekeepers, particularly women protection advisors, and for dialogue between women in conflict situations. Dialogue which provides space for women to heal wounds and divisions, and ultimately contribute to the sustainable resolution of the conflict. It is in this context that the mission here in New York has been engaged in much work towards the Security Council's adoption of a resolution aimed at reaffirming our joint commitments to the Women, Peace and Security Agenda. We are really pleased to report to this meeting that this resolution was adopted by acclamation with the support of all members of the UN Security Council. We think this is an important resolution in keeping alive at the highest level the importance of the WPS agenda and ensuring that the Security Council prioritizes the full implementation of this agenda in all of its work to bring peace and security throughout the world. We will also, as South Africa, attempt to remain at the forefront of efforts to champion the full realization of all the rights and freedoms for women and girls throughout the world. This includes the need for legal frameworks to ensure that all forms of discrimination against women are removed and that women enjoy full and equal rights in all aspects of life, including with respect to land ownership, access to economic opportunities, employment, education and healthcare, political participation and leadership, and all other aspects of an inclusive, open, democratic, and peaceful society. I would also like to give recognition to the important work that has been led by the African Union's Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security, Her Excellency Madame Bineta Diop, in championing the AU's Women, Peace and Security strategy. Special Envoy Madame Diop has led extensive efforts throughout Africa, centered on the pillars of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, which focuses on the protection of women, the prevention of sexual and gender-based violence, ensuring the participation of women in governance and peace building, in relief and recovery, particularly in humanitarian situations. Madame Diop's advocacy work involves engaging with stakeholders at all levels, from grassroots right up to the most senior decision makers across all sectors of society. We are indeed honored and privileged to have this great woman of Africa with us here this afternoon.